In this discussion, we're going to be looking at the article, It's Murder Out Today. Middle school girls speak out about girl fighting. I chose this article because of our syllabus, which we'll look at right now, which states, as you look at the objectives, number 2, to provide opportunities for greater student understanding concerning the similarities and differences between the middle school and junior high philosophies. Number 3, to assist students in becoming more familiar with the characteristics of the traditional middle and secondary school programs. And number 4, to assist in understanding the middle and secondary school student of today. This is especially for number 4. By examining how students interact and their social culture, you can see the hierarchy that you'll be teaching in or you are teaching in now. The article was published in 2011, and I have a lot of highlights because as I was going through it, I was like, man, this is just a really good article. One thing it says that physical fighting among girls and the unique relational context in which it operates has been an object of increased popular and scholarly interest in the past 2 decades. Boys continue to commit the majority of violent crimes. So boys are still committing their crimes. Girl fighting is associated with loneliness, depression, and social isolation, and can affect school performance and relationship with peers. So you're going to see right here that this is grades. Grades will come into play when students fight a lot. The importance of understanding the social and cultural context of girl fighting then is crucial if we are to develop prevention and intervention programs that assist girls in expressing feelings. Gender-specific programs is what this article is discussing, and that's one thing that they're trying to do. So as you read this article, you kind of go, wow, why are we talking about fighting? And then as you read it, as we are going to cover this, you'll start noticing, wow, man, it's the social effects that the students are going through when you combine puberty, when you combine peer pressure. Race is also an issue, which the article discusses. Really puts the students kind of in a weird situation, which is middle school. And how are you going to teach a student that way? How are you going to devise curriculum that's going to help the middle student? The article reports on project that gathered the opinions of 20 7th and 8th grade students. And we're going to look at that towards the end of the article. They're going to do a real good little lit review, you'll see. But they do a case study where they do a qualitative research where they interview 20 students. The goal of this article is to develop a clear understanding of the factors related to girl fighting in middle school and to include the voices of adolescent girls. They do this by using qualitative research, and you'll see that. Girl fighting, what we know. Now this is called the review of lit. So this is actually the review of lit that comes in here. Girl fighting is a multifaceted problem that is influenced by several contexts, and then the article continues on. Although some suggest that this empathetic connectedness promotes a positive sense of self and a focus of relationships that can mediate aggressive behavior in adolescence. And I like this part. In families where caretaking is less than optimal and aggressive rather than empathetic behavior is modeled, there are many opportunities to observe women exhibiting destructive ways of communicating and getting their needs met. This is a very complicated way of saying a poor home life where people are arguing and fighting is a good place for students to see and to have examples of how to not handle situations well. Loosely translated, mothers that fight are teaching their daughters how to fight. It says these relationship skills are also generalized in friendships and romantic relationships outside the home, where girls fight with peers who threaten their social status or relationships. Another factor in female aggression is that for many girls, the direct expression of anger and disagreement is socially frowned upon. And yet girls so attuned to their feelings will continue to fight. I kind of lost my page. Let me scroll back up. Have a need to express differences and resolve disagreements. As a result, girls often use their superior social intelligence to observe and make assumptions about relationships to influence relationships and to hurt each other. What does this mean? That because fighting is frowned upon, sometimes girls will gossip and hurt someone's feelings instead of fighting. So then the author kind of take a little leap here, and they'll say that hurting someone's feelings and gossiping is a form of fighting. I would say it's a form of bullying. Is bullying fighting? That'd be something that you could discuss. And the article continues on. It's just a wealth of knowledge. I really like this article. Check out what I highlighted here. The transition from elementary school to middle school is also the beginning of puberty. This is something I've always said in the classes, and I'm glad to see that research is reinforcing this, that these students are going through an awkward phase in their life. Leaving the more protected and nurturing elementary school with fewer children and a smaller student-to-teacher ratio, students in middle school with emphasis on greater control and discipline, fewer decision-making opportunities for students. They're also bombarded with images of ideal, of what's important, of the way that people are supposed to look, and we see that in the media as well. Emotional distress and pressure to conform to the rigid standards of the social hierarchy, having a social network then becomes protective factor as a girl seeks a safe haven. So, very important. As a student is going from elementary school, which is up here, and they're going towards a middle school, because middle school is not that safe because everyone's bullying each other and picking on each other, the students are now trying to, it says right here, they are seeking a safe haven for that bolsters confidence, and that can be their peer groups. For girls from schools with less social advantage, status in the peer group can also include a skill and reputation in fighting. The article then continues on with interventions for girl fighting. And it talks about that one way to intervene would be to have students talk about the way they feel. Now, just so you understand what the way research works, is the author has given you a review of lit, and now they're doing a review of lit on interventions. So they're going to loop this back, and they're going to do their research study, and then they're going to suggest interventions as well. So they're kind of doing a quick research on this so that they can connect their research to it. It's a very good, very well written article. When these discussions occur across different social groups, girls learn to interact with each other. And it talks about that. Now let's look at their research. Their research is qualitative, and this is the methods section. You'll see this whenever you take a research class, if you choose to take a research class. They did a qualitative, and qualitative means interviews. They recruited some students. That's their subjects. Girls from all different racial and ethnic groups were recruited. They got permission, of course. The participants were 4 focus groups were facilitated, and they used students. They had 7th and 8th graders, and then they asked them these questions right here. Each focus group was audio taped and transcribed, and then they did a data analysis, which is just they're describing their data analysis. So let's get to the important part, which are the findings. The data support the already existing literature, but deepen and understand the impact. So what the study says is they did not find anything new that contradicts the research. However, they gave a more in-depth understanding of the situation, which I agree with, and that's what qualitative does. Qualitative allows us to read the interviews. When asked to define fighting, the girls recognized the fighting was a conflict with another person that was exhibited in both physical and verbal ways. So, important, girls see fighting as also verbal. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb because some of y'all are actually in schools and you've seen a lot of fights, and I have seen fights as well, but not recently. I would say that most girl fights also have a lot of name calling, a lot of hollering, either before the fight happened and then the fight happened, or there was a lot of gossiping going back and forth, and that's one thing. So the verbal fighting usually is there as well. Both 7th and 8th graders reported that fighting was emotional and was a way to release anger. And here's some really good quotes, and I like the quotes because you're getting the idea of the student. Difference in the school environment in elementary and middle school. One student said, it's not like in elementary where you can just sit there and look at a person. You don't have time for that. You have different classes to switch to. You don't do it again. Oh, at the elementary they didn't like it. They didn't take it serious if you fought. Don't do it again or else you're going to get suspended. At the middle school, the first time you do it, you're in trouble and you get suspended. In elementary school, most conflicts were worked out in the classroom with the teacher and did not result in suspensions. The majority of 7th grade girls reported increased stress negotiating the system and understanding how to find supportive adults within the school. So students are under more stress when they enter middle school as compared to elementary school due to the fact of the new rules and regulations. Here's one of the key words, and you can email me and say I disagree with you completely, but the word drama. As I was reading this, I noticed that, and I'm just going to go off on a lecture here, is you have students who they're upset because of the social situation. They're nervous because of the way the school is acting, the new rules, the new regulations, that they're in a different environment. So they use the word drama maybe because they don't understand what is going on emotionally. So they'll say, I don't have time for this drama. And that drama can be someone talking about them. So as an adult, I really don't use that word. If my child runs up to me and goes, and it's just screaming, they're just, and they're having a wild time. I don't look and say, I don't have time for this drama. As an adult, we process what's going on and we adjust and we fix. Like, just give you a real world example. My daughter was screaming the other night. She's screaming. When you have your first child, when the child screams, you take them straight to the doctor. My daughter was just screaming and screaming and screaming, and we looked at her and we said, well, I don't know what's wrong with her. So we just kept looking, and then but you don't say, well, I don't have time for this drama. We continued to look at her and we said, oh, well, let's look in her mouth. Oh, she's cutting another tooth, and there it was. So you start seeing that I believe that the word drama, when people use the word drama, it is an escape mechanism for their inability to process their emotion. And maybe 7th and 8th graders use that word a lot because they don't understand what's all going on. I don't have time for this drama. This person quote here. There's not as much drama at elementary school because it's not a lot of like teenagers. Like we just turning into teenagers. But then when 7th grade hits, that's when everything starts. So because can't really define the word everything, so she says there's a lot of drama. When I read that passage, I was like, man, that is so amazing, because that sums up an escape mechanism. Girls know that in elementary school they were innocent. They did not have to worry about failing classes, homework, getting along with teachers, and suspensions. One girl said, like at elementary school, you're not thinking about all that he said, she said. You're still thinking about dolls and like what you're going to get for Christmas. Like as soon as I left 6th grade, I forgot about toys. Like it's different. Like every environment when you come to 8th grade, and 8th graders are more people like he said, she said. You also notice obviously that she's having trouble with the English language, but that's because she's so young. She's 12. A 12-year-old trying to express her emotions can sometimes get frustrated. Emphasis on physical appearance. We all know this. Students are very big on physical appearance. Who you knew and how this group interacted. This is what this one girl said. I love this. This is the quote that sums up my life. Like, and another thing is clothes. If you can't dress like people make fun of you or something like that. And in elementary school, that's very different because I used to come to school with like Reeboks and all this kind of stuff, like old shoes I've been wearing for years, and like nobody said anything to me. It was cool to have Reeboks, and now you see somebody with Reeboks, it's different story. Like, oh, why does she still have Reeboks? That's like 10 years ago. You still got them on? Like, it's murder out today. So I remember those times, the drama of what to wear. Nowadays, as I'm 36, 37 years old, I'm moving on up. I honestly believe if I have clean clothes, I can wear it. As long as they're clean, I'm okay. And my wife will say, "Oh, you're wearing that T-shirt." I'm like, "Yeah." So I think because as you get older, you realize that it's just not that important. Now, of course, I have my suit, I have my dress clothes, but students, kids really put a lot of money in their clothes. Oh, I remember the Reebok. Y'all don't remember the Reebok pump when it came out, the pump shoe? People had to have that. It was amazing. You get teased if your teeth are a little yellow. You get teased if you have big feet. You get teased because your hair looked funny. Like it's just like it's stupid stuff. Like I never got teased because of my hair and stuff like that because I like to do my hair, but like people just get teased. An interesting fact on, I mean, the teeth thing has gotten insane. The way people are actually whitening their teeth to be unbelievably white if you look at them on TV. If you look at the research, though, your teeth should be a little bit stained, but not like amazingly stained, but just a little bit because it actually, when people whiten their teeth, they're putting bleach in their teeth, which actually takes away from some of the enamel if they're not careful. It's very dangerous to whiten them, and people are whitening way too much. When did teeth become an amazer? You know, you had to have them pearly white, shiny white. When did that become an accessory? I don't know. It's life is amazing, and it is a very interesting thing. My father, this is just a side note, my father and mother were sharecroppers, and they didn't have, um, they never went to the dentist when they were children. They had no money, and they ended up getting dentures when. And my daddy always said whenever he had kids, they would always have go to the dentist. So we always went to the dentist every year. We went twice a year. I mean, we were always at the dentist. So I was very fortunate with that. But as I got older, I started realizing that now this big movement towards whitening. It's not even about going to the dentist; it's about whitening. You know, so it's just it's amazing. So racial and ethnic slurs constitute another form of hurtful comments to which all participants were that. So we add race to this as well. My area of research has always been civil rights, so we're not going to go into this too much. We have other lectures on that, but needless to say, if that wasn't enough, now race is playing a fact in the hurtful comments that students make. So it's not good. There's a quote here. If I like to say, "Oh, I don't like you because you're black," or because or because you're dark skinned or whatever, I will fight them because they shouldn't be talking about people's race. Like Martin Luther King Jr. was there for a reason. Hello, you know, and people still do this to today. So the student was saying that she will actually fight someone if they make a racist comment. So it's amazing that someone would actually get that angry that they would want to fight. Another major theme to emerge as the data relates to the importance of issues of loyalty. This is huge if you read this. Make sure you read this whole section. I'm not going to read it to you, but it talks about when a student, the most important thing to them is the alignment of the friend. And that's where she says, when someone talks behind their back and they start fighting, I'll help out. So that's what I say, I got your back. But the worst thing a student can do is whenever they go against that loyalty and they start talking and gossiping about someone else. Factor boys into the equation, and girls can become very upset when someone's dating someone else. So they're supposed to be your best friend, and when like say if you were somebody's best friend or whatever, then you can get out with this boy, and then it just gets crazy. Hurt and vulnerable. Fighting was seen as a way of increasing one's social status. The next part of this article talks about recommendations for interventions. You can go through all this. This fighting studies indicate that girl fighting is a complex. I read that and I was like, yep, I gotta make sure I say that. Complex problem. Because it's multiple levels. You see what we need to do, obviously. Need better counseling in the schools. Need to talk to the students. Need to have, it says right here, raising awareness of the impact of relational aggression. Another potential is having I saw that, I thought, man, that's an all-girl classroom. So that you can discuss social issues going on. If you have an all-girl classroom, you kind of take the boys out of the equation. So that would be one issue right there. Have an all-girl classroom that's multicultural, and then you bring race together where people can learn from one another. Also very important. This article is just a really good article. If you think fighting is not a big issue in the schools, I will not show it to you, but go to YouTube and type in Meridian, Mississippi fight, and you will see a lot of fights that were in Meridian, Mississippi. There's also some school fights as well. So that's how that works. That is the sound of my son who is watching SpongeBob, who keeps running in here to tell me stuff, which is kind of cool. But anyway, so the whole point of this is a really good article. And you probably read it and thought, why are we talking about this? Now you see the complexity of the middle school situation, that there are fights going on and there's a peer structure. There's all kinds of issues with that. So what I would like for you to do is we'll do a little bitty homework assignment from this one, which will be a very simple homework assignment. I'll put it up as well. We're going to ask you to just write a little bit thing about, this is the question I'll have you ask. How can we create a good intervention program? So I'm going to say, pretend you're the principal. What kind of intervention program would you do to help the students not fight? Girls only, because the guys, we'll look at that later. That's a different struggle right there. Guys fight for different reasons. You'll see that. So hopefully you enjoyed the lecture, and I really enjoyed the article. So please read it if you haven't.